is Bryce Huff. I want to share the screen on this one. This is kind of interesting. This was Brandon Graham the other day talking about Bryce Huff.
Every play, it's always
and his days in Philly and why it didn't work. And I know you've seen this before, but let's hear this one more time.
But the Jets, it was just that defense, man. I know what it's like playing in that 4-3 wide 9. Go get it. Every play, it's always stop the run on the way to the quarterback. That's the slogan in that type of defense. So that's what it's all. I feel like it's all scheme. I mean, I've seen different guys flourish in different systems, and then you see them get in another system is different. And what they asked of them this year, it just wasn't a great marriage, I would say, because I know Huff can rush. I see him doing all that, but sometimes it's just different with the type of scheme and what people ask of you and they want you to be able to do. And maybe it just wasn't that for Vic Fangio or I mean, you don't really know. I mean, I just know that he a baller, man, and he hopefully for him, I want it to be a win-win for the team and win for him. But in this case, I want him to be happy, go out if it's here or somewhere else, for him to be able to go show what he can these prime years for him.
What happened in Philly with Huff? I mean, is it simply, he's a defensive end, he's not an outside linebacker, he can't do it from a 2-point stance, he can't drop into coverage, and they ask their guys to do that, and the Niners don't, and he'll be a fit here? Or was there regression? Is there you cover this team, this Eagles team and the Niner team, and you do it on a daily basis. So what can you tell us about Huff and his time in Philly?
This is the huge thing for me, and this is why I think that he can be a great addition for San Francisco. And with how busy I've been over the last couple of weeks, going to a wedding, being in a wedding, you and I actually haven't been able to talk about this Bryce Huff trade.
Right.
With the Eagles, Vic Fangio runs a 3-4. And so Bryce Huff was brought in. Howie Roseman gave him $34 million in guaranteed money. And the Eagles' thought process was, okay, this is a former undrafted free agent who has progressed. He's improved. He's gotten better every year. And in 2023, he had 10 sacks and 57 pressures while playing less than 50% of the snaps. Let's sign him because this is an emerging player who we can find ways to make it work. He has this innate ability to push the pocket, collapse the pocket, and get after the quarterback. We can make it work with our scheme. When he was with the Jets under Robert Saleh was running the 4-3, the wide 9. Bryce Huff was in a 3-point stance, 2 feet on the ground, 1 hand in the ground, and he was playing right defensive end, left defensive end. Saleh used him in a very versatile way. In Vic Fangio's defense, running the aforementioned 3-4, the Eagles tried to use him as a stand-up outside linebacker who sometimes would have to drop back in coverage. That impacted Huff for a variety of reasons. When he is in that 3-point stance, he's able to look down the line of scrimmage, he's able to time the snap, and he is very explosive, quick and twitchy when getting off at the line of scrimmage. He's also a little bit of a shorter player. And so when he has his hand in the dirt, he's able to get good leverage and bend the edge and get beneath some of those offensive tackles and win with his explosiveness. When you are a 3-4 outside linebacker, a lot of times it's more read and react. And his get off wasn't as fast because he was a stand-up pass rusher. He wasn't used to being a stand-up guy. He was used to putting his hand in the dirt in a 4-3. And then also, he's never been a great run defender, but sometimes he would have to drop back in coverage and then read and react in going up against the run. And so Robert Saleh knows how to use him. Robert Saleh has familiarity with him. Bryce Huff is the perfect addition for Nick Bosa and this defensive line. You're not going to ask him to be a 3-down player. You're going to ask him to be a speed rusher Bugatti guy off the edge, to move with velocity like a Ferrari, and be that pass rush specialist. Nick Bosa has not had this kind of guy his entire career. The Niners thought they were getting that guy in D Ford. He barely played with Nick Bosa. He had that neck injury. And so with build, and with game. Bryce Huff is very similar to D Ford, who prior to the Niners was a terrific player for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so the Niners give up a 5th round pick, which can become a 4th. They have a bevy of picks next year, so that doesn't really matter. The Eagles restructured his contract. The Niners are paying him less than $8 million this year. He's a good scheme fit, has familiarity with Saleh, and he's a great complement to Bosa. I think this trade is a huge win. Knock it out of the park for the San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of the Eagles beat writers have said, look, he's probably going to be very productive for the Niners. That's fine because it just didn't work out with the Eagles. They also drafted Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith, 2 young players who they really like. They signed Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari, and they were ahead of Bryce Huff in the edge rusher rotation. Right from the jump when Huff was signed by the Eagles, Vic Fangio never trusted him. He wasn't running with the ones in training camp last year. He played deep into preseason games. And it just comes down to the simple fact that he wasn't a scheme fit. With the Niners, he will be. And I think he's going to be a really productive player this year. And I know that you've shared a lot of that as well.
Yeah, no, I'm a believer. It's interesting because Kris Kocurek, when he was asked about it the other day, he had a really interesting answer. He's got a little frog in the throat today. But he said the step sequencing is quite a bit different,
So different
for a 4-3 defensive end in a wide 9, get up the field, than in a 2-point stance. And this guy, is not even in a Nick Bosa 3-point stance. He's in a 4-point stance, like a track star. I mean, he's literally and the one thing about Bryce Huff, if you're looking at him in practice, you're thinking he's not that impressive. He's, as far as his physique. They list him at 6'3". He doesn't look 6'3".
He was a UDFA. Remember that. Like, he was a UDFA for a reason.
Right. And he's 6'1", 250. But he's rocked up in the shoulders.
Yep.
He's really strong up top. But where he's really special is he's got the get off, and it's like he's got it down. So every step is choreographed like a ballerina. And this guy comes firing out of his stance, and it's funny watching him. He doesn't look like much at practice, and then all of a sudden he gets lined up, and Kris is barking the cadence, and he goes, and every time Kris is like, great get off, because there is no wasted movement.
Yeah.
It's choreographed, it's streamlined, it's been worked on. He's just really, really good at getting off the football, and it's a skill. I mean, give you an example. What I love the most about CJ West right now is that if you watch his college film, he doesn't get off the ball. He gets left like a horse in a starting gate. He's constantly not getting off the ball, and he's winning reps anyway. That tells you how physically dominant he is. They'll eventually get CJ West to get off the ball. And when he does get off the ball, he'll get his hands on the offensive lineman before they get their hands on him. He'll totally change his thing. So I think CJ West doesn't get off the ball. Huff gets off the ball. And obviously, if you can get off the ball, you can cover up a lot of weaknesses in your game.